A year ago, I showed up at HBS with a mechanical engineering degree, one job on my resume, and a very basic understanding of what an MBA was supposed to give me. I thought it was about learning to become a business leader, get a fancy degree, become a CEO someday, get a few letters behind my name like so many other people. But I was kind of wrong about what it was. And to accurately evaluate if the HBS MBA is worth it or not, I at least have to define what I'm doing here. So, this is my 1 year evaluation of whether the HBS MBA is worth it. And I'm going to approach it the way I approach everything. I'm going to break it down into what I actually got, what it cost, and whether the return justifies the investment. So let me start with what I expected when I enrolled. I thought I was buying a business education. Hard skills like finance, marketing, strategy, and operations. Things I did not necessarily learn as an engineer. I thought I was buying a credential. The Harvard MBA is a brand that would open doors and carry me throughout my career, or at least I hope. And I thought I was buying a network. Access to ambitious, high-performing people who would become future colleagues and collaborators. I wasn't wrong about any of that. I got those things, but they're not the most valuable thing I got. After a full year, if I had to rank what I've gotten out of HBS in order of value to me personally, here's how it would stack up. First, it would be self-discovery. Second, network. 3, career optionality. And 4, learning the hard skills. So, self-discovery is first, and that's what surprised me more than anything else about this experience. So, is self-discovery worth $80,000 a year in tuition? I know, this is such a privileged question to ask, but I think it's a very important question and the one that most MBA content completely ignores. More than the degree, the job, or the network, getting an MBA is 2 years of your life after you have some real life experience under your belt to discover who you want to be, what you like, and the kind of life you want to live. In most cases, in most jobs, you do not need the MBA degree. So if you evaluate your counterpart 20 years from now, assuming that both you and them have the same job, are the same age, have the same pay, etc., but you had an MBA and they didn't, is the 2-year break you had worth it? Worth the fun? The self-discovery? The small dip in net worth, maybe? And then, if you adjust that base case slightly for reality, likely you've accelerated faster, have more career optionality, and your net worth delta is not negative. So that's almost to say it is definitely worth it. And what I've observed over this year in myself and in my classmates is that the people who have a good understanding of who they are and what they want live not just more successful lives by their own personal definition, but more meaningful lives. And a great career is just a byproduct. Now, I know I only have this perspective after finishing 1 year here. This is new for me. Before HBS, I was focused on the ladder, how to climb higher, how to grow faster, how to get to the next level. And I thought that would make me happy and appear successful. And more often than not, that meant I had to perform perfectly, be better positioned politically than any of my counterparts, and have all the opportunities come to me, which is pretty much impossible. So what I've come to believe is that it's more important to know what impact you want to have, understand why it makes you happy, and then work at it to find it and make it happen. HBS is making dreams come true, not by handing people opportunities, but by giving them the space and the tools to figure out what they actually want. For instance, before HBS, I didn't even know what ETA was, not expected time of arrival. Entrepreneurship through acquisition. I had never heard of deep tech venture capital. I didn't know what an LDP was. I didn't understand how private equity or investment banking actually worked. I didn't know that consulting was a career people used as a 2-year holding pattern while they figured out what they really wanted. Now I understand all those things, not just intellectually, but viscerally. I've interviewed for most of them, I've talked to people who do them, I've studied cases about them, and through that exposure, I've been able to narrow down what I actually want with a clarity I didn't have before. And that process of seeing the full landscape of what's actually possible and then choosing your path with intention rather than by default, that is the self-discovery I am talking about. It's not navel-gazing, it's strategic. It's the difference between falling into a career and choosing one. So I'm beginning to reframe what I understood getting an MBA was. I thought it was about becoming a business leader. but it's actually about becoming someone who knows themselves well enough to lead with conviction in business and in life. Every single class I took at HBS was new to me. So the learning curve was steep and the learning curve was real. My worldview has grown in ways I couldn't have predicted. Now I just psychoanalyze every business I walk into, and I never thought this way before HBS. One class that changed my worldview was TEM, the Entrepreneurial Manager. Not because it was the most rigorous, but because it fundamentally shifted how I think about what's possible. You can really build anything. The bar is not that high. The cases showed me that the difference between someone who starts a company and someone who doesn't isn't intelligence or resources. It's the willingness to try. That realization has permanently changed how I evaluate opportunities. And something I unlearned from HBS might be even more important than what I did learn. I unlearned being scared to take the leap. Being raised in an immigrant family had taught me that there are not enough safety nets to warrant taking a leap, but having HBS as a safety net is a whole new thing. A failed experiment can still be successful because it is rich in learnings. So, just try. Before HBS, I was very risk adverse. Now I'm just a little risk adverse. I now understand that the risk of not trying is often greater than the risk of failing. All right, let's move on. So everyone talks about the HBS network, so let me tell you what it actually feels like from the inside after 1 year. The network is not just a directory you access. It's a web of relationships you build through shared experience. And the quality of those relationships is directly proportional to the intensity of the experience you shared. So my section went through a year of case discussions, simulations, breakdowns, recruiting stress, celebrations, and roasts together. Those 93 people are not just contacts. They're people who saw me struggle and succeed. The people I cooked for, studied with, debated with, cried with, and who pick up my calls when I call. That depth of relationship is what makes the network powerful, not the quantity of LinkedIn connections. And this is something I've realized that I did not expect. The brand itself is the network. I can continue leveraging it to build relationships with alumni, industry leaders, and with anyone in the HBS ecosystem for the rest of my career. The 2 years here on campus is just the beginning of that compounding asset. Here's the nuance I want to flag. The network is most valuable when you know what you want. If you don't know what you're looking for, a network of 90,000 alumni is just noise. But if you do know what you want, it's a direct line to almost anyone in the industry. So, self-discovery first, network second. That is the order of operations. Now, moving down the list, career is third, and I want to explain why. It's not that HBS hasn't impacted my career. It has, but the career impact is more nuanced than a salary bump. More than money, what HBS has given me career-wise is the time, space, and opportunity to learn, especially all those AI tools, and take the time to become an expert. HBS has given me the chance to be more competitive in the job market, and most importantly, it opened my eyes to opportunities I did not know I did not know. It is more than making more money or jumping to a taller ladder. The raw numbers and ROI in my HBS DCF probably look about the same as when I started. Tuition is still roughly $80K per year, and they just raised it 10%, so we'll reevaluate whether I think easy year is worth it later on. The average post-MBA salary is in the 180 to 200K range, which I don't think it's actually going to rise that much in the future. So if you run a basic financial analysis on those numbers, the math generally works out over 20 years or something. But that's not what makes it worth it. What makes it worth it is that now I feel more passion for what I'm planning to do, more hope, more hunger. I know what I want, and I know I can get it, which that statement is a privilege in itself. The clarity, the confidence that comes with having explored the full landscape and chosen my path intentionally is worth more than any salary differential. Before HBS, I was trying to figure out how to grow in my career. It didn't really matter how, I just wanted to grow. Now, I know where I'm going, why I'm going there, and what it will take to get there. That's the career ROI that doesn't show up in a spreadsheet. So the honest answer to would I do it again? Because this is the question that everybody asks, and I want to give an honest answer. Do I think other people should do it? Yes. For the learning, the stress testing, the self-discovery, the network, HBS is a crucible that forces you to confront who you are, what you believe, and what you want, all while learning how business actually works. That combo is rare and genuinely transformative. But would I personally do it again? No. And here's why. I've gotten my learnings. The 4 breakdowns I had were enough. Each one broke down some old way of thinking and made room for something better. But I do not need to go through that again. The self-discovery happened. My worldview shift happened. The career clarity happened. And it was exactly what I needed at exactly the right time. But it was also so hard, like genuinely deeply hard. And the value I got is now inside me. So I do not need to re-earn it. So I think this is the healthiest answer. If someone finishes the MBA and says, I would do it all over again in a heartbeat, I'd wonder if they were being honest about how hard it was and question how much they actually got from the experience. And if someone says it wasn't worth it, I'd wonder if they went in without doing the self-reflection work to get the most out of it. So my answer is it's worth it, it changed me, and I do not need to do it again. Those 3 things can all be true at the same time. So let me close with what I've come to believe after 1 year. The question, is the MBA worth it, is actually the wrong question. It's a financial framing question applied to an experience that is fundamentally about personal transformation. The right question is, do I need 2 years to discover who I am, what I want, and how to get it in the company of 950 other ambitious people who are doing the same thing? If the answer is yes, then HBS is probably worth it. Not because of the degree, not because of the salary, but because the self-discovery that happens in this pressure cooker is the kind that takes most people a decade to achieve on their own, if they achieve it at all. There is room for everyone here to have what they want and to succeed and to be happy. That might sound naive, but after a year at HBS, I genuinely believe it. The people who know themselves, who have done the work to understand what fulfillment looks like to them, are the ones who built the most meaningful lives. Everything else is a byproduct. So is it worth it? For me, yes. For you, only you can answer that. But now you know what the question actually is. Anyway, the next video in this mini-series is practical advice of how you can get the most out of your RC year at HBS. Tactical tips that will save you time, money, and stress. So, subscribe so you don't miss it. Until next time, bye guys!